welcome to Drinks Coach. YouTube, press the bell, hit subscribe, see me other shows. There are loads of other shows. I've done like 25 already this year, or in the new series. But there was 150, I think, from the last series. And some of them are still relevant. At least the comments are supposed to still be relevant. I always try to make these shows not just about what to buy right now, in the here and now, but to give some colour to each wine so they stand in the test of time and perpetuity. Having said that, here are 6 wines from Majestic. What I did was I rang up the lovely lady at Majestic. Hi, Chloe. And I thought, well, when I went into Majestic recently, just to go in and sneak a bottle of whiskey, actually. Sneak? That sounded like I was going to steal it. I didn't steal it. I went in there to get something. And I noticed that the normal prices, which is always reasonably inflated, and then you get the mixed 6 price. Oh, you buy 6 bottles and the price is this. There was a lot of deep promotions, some sales, and they looked like normal kind of barkers on the shelf. It's just that there was a much bigger difference between the first price and the second price. So then I went online and said lots of online bargain discounts, bin clearances, blah blah blah. So then I started looking through. I thought, right, if I had to buy 6 bottles of wine today, what would I buy? And I went through and I just clicked them, and then I spoke to Chloe and said, look, can you send me these 6 so I can tell the world about them? So, no, I didn't pay for these wines. I'm very sorry to say. But this would be the box I'd buy. And in fact, just so you know, the discount, if I bought these 6 bottles, there'd have been £26 discounts off their full price, which is fair enough, isn't it? I mean, some of these wines are £7 off or something, which is a lot of money, right? So, there's some deals to be had at Majestic. And I just want to point these wines out because I thought they were pretty cool and a little bit cute. What do we have? We have an Italian white. We have an Argentine white, an Argentinian one. We have a French white. No surprise there. We have Côte d'Iron. You're bored of me talking about it. Côte d'Iron Rosé. But watch this space. You'll know why it's in the tasting when you get to it. We also have 2 Syrahs. Should I say 1 Syrah and 1 Shiraz? Or 2 Shirazes. Of course, because Syrah is Shiraz, it's kind of almost explains the style that you're getting. You want racy, perfumed, aromatic, capable of aging for a long time, very food friendly, very sophisticated, then it's going to be Syrah. If it's Shiraz, then it's yeah. And we've got the original double barrel 12-bore bastard of them all, Grant Burge, right here. So Grant Burge, one of the great, the Burge family, one of the great successes of Barossa Valley. Ironically, one of my very dear friends, one of my best friends, Tom Lester, is married to Grant Burge's granddaughter, uncle. I can't remember. Very, very close relation. There we go. I think it's dad. Hell. Jesus, one. It's like being removed by one position from like Prince or Michael Jackson or something. Anyway, I haven't drunk his wines for so long. I thought it'd be really lovely to taste this wine with you. So the last wine is a wine that I'm not sure how it's going to perform, although I've got a sneaking feeling it's going to perform extremely well because their wines are very good. They've had some very good winemakers. So where do I? Oh yeah, I'll tell you what. I'll put these down. Right, I'll put these down here like that, so you can see what I'm doing. So let's do the whites first, because I didn't frame this up terribly cleverly, did I? There we go, that's better. Yeah, that'll do. First wine. This is made from a grape variety called Pecorino. No, not the cheese. Pecorino is a grape variety as well. It's called Comesh. It's from Saladini estate. Saladini produces one called Pilastri, which it used to be like £3-4. It was one of the great value wines. Still is one of the great value wines of Italy, and these wines are an organic estate making lovely wines in an area of Italy which isn't really well known for much, although every part of Italy has its own special treasures, whether that's wild boar sausage or bolito or I don't know, certain cheeses, certain olive oil, certain wines, and here we are sort of on the east side of Italy, not the west. More what I call fashionable west side. It's on the east side, so south of Marche. So you're sort of like in that area. So like imagine you're in Rome and you go over the Apennine Mountains, heading towards Croatia. you're on the other side. Okay, so this is Comèche Pecorino, and it's from Offida, DOCG. Now, OFFIDA, didn't even bother looking it up. If I don't know it, you don't know it. But I will look it up in a minute. It's 2022 vintage, so it's current release. It's made from Pecorino wine. I don't know if Offida only has Pecorino as a variety that you're allowed to grow there. I shall learn in due course. But I tasted this wine at the press tasting last year, and it's one of the few wines I didn't put in my lineup. Do you remember the lineup I did of different retailers? And all those wines are still extant. Most of them are still available. Please go back to the shows I did before Christmas. But there's 2 shows on Majestic, there's 2 shows on Tesco, there's Sainsbury's, blah 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 blah, and they're full of really delicious wines. And I'm pretty sure this is the only one that didn't arrive that I wanted to have in the Majestic tasting because I loved it so much. Normally $11.99 down to $8.99, so it's normally 12 down to 9. Under £9 or under is a really, really lovely price for this wine. Pecorino is a great variety which doesn't always have lots of texture. It tends to be grown in high yields in most cases. But if you find the better examples, even good examples of cheap Pecorino have an almost sherbety spritz about them, a tingle. But this is more serious. I think maybe when I'm tasting this, there's aspect. Feels like it might be on a hill. A bit like if you buy Verdicchio di Castigliese, very cheap, really, really workable, good value white wine from the east of Italy. You've also got Verdicchio di Botanica, which comes from the hills, up in Botanica in the hills. And the stuff up the hills, way sexier than the stuff on the Badlands and the sand near the sea. I've got a funny feeling that Comèche Pecorino Offida DOCG is kind of weaponized, weapons grade Pecorino. Sure, the Pecorino has this lovely, fresh, appley fruit, spice to it, maybe a tingle of spritz, but this wine has way more texture. It's real. When you drink it, you almost suck your tongue. It's so tasty, and it has persistence. It hangs around for a while. So, wine number 1 in my chosen box from Majestic right now is, and all the information will be in the description below. This is Saladini, Pilastri, Comèche Pecorino, Offida DOCG. Easy for you to say. Oh, smells of freshly sliced Comèche pear. You know when you cut into a pear and it's just ripe? After that moment when it's not ripe and before it goes all granular, you cut into it, and juice just kind of dribbles down your arm. Welcome to my world. There's some age on lees. I can taste the winemaking process. Post winemaking, there's been the dead wine cells in the tank, the lees, have been allowed to work their magic on the texture of the wine. This wine's almost creamy. This wine's like Silvio German creamy. Silvio German's a bit of a hero from Friuli, up in the north. But this wine at £9, it tastes way more expensive now. That's really sexy. Creamy, tingly, persistent, aftertaste goes on and on. Be just magic with a bowl of pasta, maybe like sardine. If you're like post-Christmas, unless you're a student and somebody's taught you the magic of making a pasta out of mackerel in tomato sauce or something like this, is one of the great cheap eats. I put in a tin of chopped anchovies as well. This would be magic with that. The oily fish, fantastic. Or just some grilled sardines or some mackerel or something like that. Or maybe kippers if you're having a shit morning. There we go. Right. Really delicious. 13.5% alcohol. I didn't remember it being that punchy, but there we go. Moving on. I don't know which one I said I was going to do these in. This will tell me. Oh yeah, we'll do this one next. This is French wine. Nerida Abbotts and Delaunay Viognier. She was a high flyer. Nerida Abbott was a high flyer in Penfolds, the great sort of the Taj Mahal of wineries in Australia. Very talented winemaker indeed. Very clever lady. And formerly married to a good friend of mine, Nigel Sneed, who's like running everything in Australia now. He should be president, prime minister, what you call him. So Viognier, I'm wittering now. Les Fleurs Sauvages, wildflowers. Yes, this does taste like hedgerows. Viognier should taste like hedgerows. It's a Viognier, and some Viognier doesn't taste like Viognier to me. But this is, I think this part of the world, the Occitanie, the Languedoc-Roussillon of France, has a few people that are really good at this. There's a wine called Vendange Manuel Nocturne, pardon me, dear, by Laurent Miquel. These wines are sold at Waitrose, similar money to this, just delicious, fragrant, textured Viognier as it should be. Abbotts and Delaunay, maybe, I'm going to say it, it's a step up, very slightly. Current prices from 12 quid, 11.99, down to 8.99, so 9 quid. Same price as the Pecorino. And again, really serious wine for £9 or less. Now we're looking at most wines costing around 7 to 9 quid. Thanks, Rishi. Okay, so I remember a light box that used to be in the Marks and Spencers in Kensington High Street. That's a part of London, for those people who don't know. And it said, if you like Chardonnay, you'll love Viognier, which I thought was a little bit dumbing down the variety somewhat. Viognier doesn't take oak the same way Chardonnay does. Chardonnay's a million different styles. A Chardonnay, as I've described in many shows, is more of a cultivar. It's more of a collection of different grape varieties than one of itself. But this does smell of hedgerows like cow parsley and just almost like buttercup field. Wonderful fragrance. Sort of warm meadow smell. Underneath that, there's a smell, unmistakable smell of stone fruits. I would say peach more than anything else. Flat peaches. It has the whiff of a Bellini about it. Fresh peach juice and Prosecco, for those people who don't know. Okay. Yeah. Not as high in acidity as a Pecorino. But Viognier isn't high in acidity. It's low in acid. It's good. It's one of the reasons why it's so successful and useful as a wine. It would be lovely with smoked salmon or Glava Lax. It's juicy. It's got enough acidity to hold things together. It's fresh. Okay, if this is kind of like, I don't know, apricot tang, this is melon. Like cutting open a fresh Charente melon. Pear juice, melon juice. I think that's a really good way to describe the differences between the two. They're both the same price. Hell, just buy a box with 3 of those in of each and you're sorted for the next few days. Okay, right, lovely. And then we've got one more wine here, which I looked at it and I thought, hell, this is different. This is an estate which has been around for a long time. Humberto Canale. Humberto Canale is in Patagonia as well. So it's not, if you go to Argentina, long, thin country, not as long and thin as Chile, but it takes up most of the rest of flipping South. If you go up to the north, it's kind of across the Andes and it's lots of very high altitude vineyards. If you go down to the south, there's lots of flint and lots of very unusual tectonic plates, unusual soils and ancient soils and schists and shales and things like that. And the vineyards are much lower altitude, but you're further south, so it's cold for a different reason. So it's cold regularly rather than hot and cold like it is in the north. And Humberto Canale is a prestigious estate that's been around for well over 100 years down in the south. This, believe it or not, I mean, you can go years without seeing a white wine from Argentina that you like, if I'm honest with you. This is called Old Vineyard Riesling 2022 Humberto Canale. Yes, Argentinian Riesling. Never had it before, but that's the point. When you're looking through the internet, go, oh, if I have a box of 6, that one looks a well-priced individually item, and it's curious, it's interesting. And this wine has been deeply discounted. It was £22 and it's down to £15, 7 quid off a bottle. And I'm really excited about finding out whether they desperately need to get rid of it or they're just going, oh, look, everyone needs to try this bloody wine already. Let's taste it. But it's in a reasonably heavy bottle, quite a serious bottle. It's got a lovely picture of a very, look at a senior sort of like landowner with his daughter or something there. La Morita. And this is from Patagonia in Argentina. Humberto Canale 2022. The vineyard was planted in 1909. Yeah. You try and find me more 100-year-old Riesling vines. There are very few of them in Germany. They're better organised than that. They replant. 100-year-old Riesling vines are very rare. Riesling in South America is rare. Bio in Chile is capable of producing some really delicious Riesling. I have to say, I'm very fond of the style of wine you get in the extreme southern vineyards of Chile. But I've never, ever had an Argentinian Riesling. And if it's 22 quid to start with, and the guys and girls at Majestic thought that was a reasonably fair price, should be a really interesting wine. Right, Riesling. Hands up, who likes Riesling? No, you at the back. No, they're not like the old wines from Germany. In fact, Blue Nun and all Black Tower, they never had any Riesling in. They were made from other things. But Riesling is a German variety, and we know about rubbish wine from the 70s and 80s, which came from Germany. So we associate rubbish wine with Riesling, but that's wrong. Those rubbish wines were made with Müller-Thurgau and Elbling and shite like that. This is Riesling. Riesling is one of the great, great varieties of the world, and in all its different manifestations, it seems to be able to age at least 5 to 10 years. So, wow, okay. Right, wasn't expecting that. Okay. Riesling lovers out there, if you like German Riesling, you like the purity, the fragrance, the blossom, maybe you like the residual sugar if you like the sweeter styles, and they have this wonderful sort of like almost daiquiri tension in them. The dry ones, very minerally, intense, potent, pure. Argentinian ones, more ballsy, more out there, more complex, more worked. There's more artifact, i.e. as the wine gets older, after 2 or 3 years, you get a lot more development in Austrian Riesling, but Austrian Riesling's lovely. If you go to Alsace, most of the Alsatian Rieslings come from very, very hot sites, and they're aged in a mixture of old foeders and maybe a little bit of new wood. Some of them aren't Asian oak at all, of course, so I don't think Riesling takes to oak very well. But you end up with wines which are very, very complex and are more worked, more like an Austrian or German wine had babies with a Burgundy. There's something Burgundian about Alsatian wines, big, rich wines. Washington State, there's a winery called Chateau Saint Michel. I think it's just gone bust. But it had 750 acres of Riesling, making it the largest grower of Riesling in the world. Yeah, in the Northwest Pacific. Other Rieslings of note, well, you cannot rule out, at your peril, rule out the great South Australian Rieslings from Polish Hill River and that area, the Clare Valley, Grosset, Leo Buring, amazing wines. But also there's lovely Rieslings in other parts of Australia. Crawford Wines in Western Australia. What's the name of that lovely wine there? In Great Southern. It'll come to me in a minute. But there are one, Howard Park. Also, there are Yarra Valley Rieslings, which are very good. But Australia has a history of making really pure, very pristine, very fine, dry Rieslings, which have a skeletal, almost violent edge to them, which make them wonderful with the rich, succulent, proteinish seafood that you get down there. You can also trot over to New Zealand, especially Central Otago and the South Islands, where there's lots of ripeness, and the wines actually make quite powerful and intense ozone mineral-filled dry Rieslings. But the best ones have a little bit of a leg in Germany and just allow the wines not to be 14.5% alcohol, but let maybe 0.6 of that be residual sugar. So you've got body, acidity, and residual sugar, making therefore a unique style of wine in New Zealand as well. So there you go. That's my little kind of run around the world talking about Riesling. But Argentina, had no idea. When I'm picking this wine up and smelling it, okay, I can smell like it might be Riesling, but I can smell it sure as shit Patagonian. There's something about Patagonian wines which have a kind of muddy, shale minerality, rusty minerality to them. I've said shale a lot today. Don't know why. Just, I suppose, because we're talking about the same regions. But this wine has a wonderful wet stone quality. The smell of stones being covered in water like a pebble, and then the sunshine drying out. You get this smell of post-monsoon smell. I have said it before, and I'll say it again. We have a name for that as a description in wine, and it's petrichor, which is Greek for hot stone. But it's all about the sort of like the stone, the water evaporating off it. And this wine reeks of petrichor. And squeeze of fresh lemon juice. Not lime, but like fresh, clean lemon. It's 13.5% alcohol, I've just noticed that. Which explains the breadth. It's broad. Not dissimilar to Alsatian Riesling, actually. There's some complication here. There's some lees aging, there's some spice, there's some stirring. Don't think there's any oak. But wow, what an interesting flipping wine. Wow, what would I have that with? brilliant with stir-fried onions and things like that. So maybe a onion calves liver dish would be nice if you didn't want to drink a red wine. Dolcetto from Italy is rather good with that, by the way. Don't know what to say. Very interesting food wine. Normally 22 quid. 15 quid now at the moment. Go and buy one. I think you'll be really surprised. If you're in a group of people that does that kind of getting together and talking about wine a lot kind of group, this is a wine that will really mess with people's heads, because no one's ever going to say, oh, it's Argentinian Riesling. Didn't even know they existed. There we go. Humberto Canale, after 100 and something years, is still providing excitement and surprises for people. Right, let's try a rosé and 2 wonderful reds. And then I'll let you go. 23 minutes in already. Must be aware. I will hold my tongue unless absolutely necessary. Okay, let's try this. Les Frères Lumières. Anybody know what that means? The Lumière brothers? Oh, that's the wrong one. Oh, it doesn't even have a screw cap. It has a cork in it. That's probably more about my state of mind than anybody else's. Les Frères Lumières. Côtes du Rhône Rosé. This is from Celliers de Dauphins, the largest multiple co-op brand company in Côtes du Rhône. We're talking hundreds of millions of litres of wine, all made very, very well. Now, this wine's normally a tenner. And I think at a tenner, it's probably pushing it a bit. I think that would be one of the wines where I go, Majestic's profiteering maybe by an extra quid there. Maybe $8.99. But I mean, tenner. And then I smelled it. I thought, it smells really, really clean. It smells of raspberries and aniseed. Most people don't even know that Côtes du Rhône makes rosé, right? Okay. And most people think Côtes du Rhône is red. And they don't realise that an increasing percentage, let's call it 10%, is white, that's all. And then a tiny smidge is rosé. It makes great rosé. I mean, look, they're right next to Provence. And we're buying all this rosé de Provence at 12, 15, 20 quid. When you can buy this, ladies gentle, at Majestic. Not for $9.99, not for $8.99, or $7.99, or $6.99. This is $5.99 right now. It's 4 quid off a tenner. And at £6, if you like your rosé, buy a little cache of this, and this will keep you going until the new vintages come out. Absolutely amazing value for money. $5.99. It's Celliers de Dauphins on a different label. I think it looks great. It feels like you're in a bistro cracking open oysters. I have very little else to say other than the fact that that is a very tasty wine for good all money. Right, okay. So that's the rosé. We've done 3 whites. We've done 1 rosé. We now have 2 reds. These are my red glasses. We're starting off with this fella here. I'm pouring them both at the same time because they're both, as I think I mentioned at the top of the show, are the same grape variety. Not as anyone would know. But in my right-hand glass, so the one on your left-hand side of the screen, we have Tomato Estate Hawke's Bay Syrah. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. When you come in. Tomato Estate, I think, is the oldest winery in New Zealand. It's like one of the first. And we're like talking, yeah. The estate was created in 1896. Go figure. 1896. New Zealand wine kind of broke cover in the late 70s with the help of Montana, which is the name of an American estate, so they had to change the name to Brancott Estate. But Montana Sauvignon Blanc, 1986, I think, won some gold medal or won an award, and it was 2 pence a bottle or something. And then people realised that New Zealand was capable of making really wonderful, but most importantly, a uniquely styled Sauvignon Blanc, which made the world go bananas. But that way around is better, isn't it? They're all from Marlborough, really. This is a huge chunk of the South Island. But the North Island, which isn't that much warmer than the South Island, although it's close to the equator, because of trade winds, it's consistently balmy. Difficult conditions to make wine in many cases. If you're on the east coast of New Zealand and you're further up in Gisborne, I suppose that's where we'd call it the warmest wine region in New Zealand. Even when you go up into the onto the islands where they make beautiful extracted red wines like Waiheke Island, which is wonderful. Manowar, those wines are really stunning. Goldwater Estate. Those wines have a consistent balmy warmness which allows them to make beastly wines. But what we've got here is a region which is 2/3 or 3/4 of the way down the North Island, so much cooler. It's on the coast. It has cooling winds at night, but it can be still warm. It has remarkable soil structures, as you can only imagine. In New Zealand or Australia, it's all, I mean, everything else in New Zealand's getting weird, so why wouldn't the soils be weird? And we have two soils that really extant in this area. We have this heavy granite, this dry quartzite granite called Greywacke. You might even come across the same block called Greywacke Estate. But Greywacke, which I'm guessing is not, it wasn't an Englishman who came up with that name, but Greywacke is this heavy grey, you pick it up, it's almost like I've lived like a bar of gold, extraordinarily dense rock. But also, they have gravels, shell gravels called gimlet gravels, and the gimlet gravel soils are highly prized. And a lot of people that produce Syrah in this small region usually make a generic wine. Well, shout out to Trinity Hill. They make just a regular Syrah, but they also make a gimlet gravel series. There's a posh one. Well, it's not as simple as that, and some of the soils are actually stunning anyway. But Hawke's Bay is famous for a few things. It's because it's warm enough. It makes some very good Bordeaux blends. It makes very good Chardonnay. There are parts of limestone in and about. I've always come back to Rifleman's Hill, Scotchman's Hill, Rifleman's Vineyard. I think it is, which is a wine which just blows me away every time I try it. There's a Craggy Range Hawke's Bay Chardonnay, which is really very, very fine. But Hawke's Bay is this really weird little place, and going there is kind of weird. You fly there. I went to a Shiraz symposium there back in 2006, a long time ago now. And I don't know, I fell in love with the wines of the region. The wines are stunning, really stunning. And the wines of Tomato are kind of next world wonderful. They make a very nice Bordeaux blend. They make a lesser Bordeaux blend, which always tasted tomatoes to me. Can't remember what they call it, the second one. But also they make Gamay. They make Gamay. And if you're a Beaujolais head, they're the only people that care. They're the only people that are trying 14,000 miles away. But there we go. Right, let's just talk about this wine with a little bit more focus. It's a beautiful label. You may not have come across it before, but Tomato is the OG. This is the OG New Zealand wine. This is Hawke's Bay 2021. Original Gangster. Okay, right, so. Oh, wow. It's what I wanted. This is what I wanted. Prices, I'm not sure it's very cheap, but the last two aren't about cheap. They're about magic. If I'm buying a box of 6, I want some magic. Tomato Syrah 2020 Hawke's Bay is 20 quid normally, down to £16. If this is $15.99, then thank you very flipping much. Very nice. Beautiful, dark, violet red. The wines around Hawke's Bay are very, very familiar. The aromas are very similar to the really good Northern Rhône reds. Again, also made from Syrah. There's a pristine quality, fresh air quality about them. But there are one or two that really blow my mind. Really are really fine. And at £16, this is really something. When you smell this wine, I could easily think that was a top-end Hermitage from the local co-op. There's a bargain right there, because that would cost you 30 quid. This is £16, and it's come all the way around the world. There's an unmistakable smell of rose, bay rose, pink peppercorns, and black pepper, or white pepper. I know, it's a mix. But there's a spice, a dry, wonderful spice, a bit of Jamaican allspice, a little bit of nutmeg, mace. And then underneath is this wonderful, pure, bite into a damson, fresh, zingy fruits. And then it's like been dipped in dark chocolate right at the end. What a brilliant wine for 16 quid. It's a brilliant wine for 20 quid, if I'm honest, but that's only 16. Definitely leave that in the case. Right, and then we're going to come on to the last one. Mr. Lester, are you watching? Is your wife watching? Barossa Valley, 5th generation Shiraz, 14.5% alcohol, Grant Burge, Barossa. So during the 90s, there was a couple of wines that became super, super popular in America because certain people gave them scores out of 100 that were really high. And there was Meshach and Shadrach, and these wines were like 15, 16% alcohol, slathered in oak. Black is like drinking, I don't know, concentrated chocolate juice. Not really what you want when you're sitting down with some fine food. The kind of wines you'd sit and drink on their own. And I'm not going to pretend I didn't like those styles of wines. When I go back to thinking about President's Selection and the great old Wolf Blasses of the period, or the big Shirazes from Barossa, we loved them. And the reason why Australia is so successful as a country is partly because of those styles of wines. Although they've evolved away from that, become more sophisticated, we weren't that sophisticated when they arrived. So there we go. I think that we have to accept big, beastly Barossa Shiraz. I remember there was one guy that described it as smelling like Murray mince and hamster cages, because a lot of the wines weren't very clean in those days, back in the 70s and 80s. But they had this minty, buttery, fresh fruit flavour, rum and mint. Let's see what this tastes like now. So this is 2018, which I believe was a very nice vintage. See, I can smell the oak. It would be wrong if there wasn't. And I think there's a small percentage of American oak. There's a very open poured wood quality, probably from World Cooperage, mate, or AP John. So the smell of this wine is a real combination, just like what we love in Reserve and Grand Reserve Rioja. So don't throw the baby out of the bathwater, man. I mean, you can't say, these wines are too oaky and then drink a bottle of Rioja the next day. Hypocrite, okay? These wines are for the Rioja lover in you that wants something new world. Smell of pine trees, pine kernels almost. Chestnut, dried chocolate, cherries. I mean, this is old school stuff, but it's evocative and it's delicious. And this kind of wine actually is very soft. The Barossa Valley Shiraz style is soft and increasingly high, has more refreshment and acidity. This wine would be lovely with roast turkey, in the same way that a soft Pinot Noir would be nice with roast turkey. It's not a million miles away from the pillowy texture you get from Pinot Noir. Although I'd probably be shot for saying that if I was in Barossa Valley. But yeah, this wine has got all the flavour without the downside. And I think that's a really classic old school Australian Shiraz. What did I say? Cheers, Mr. Burge. Look forward to seeing you soon. So that's it. Okay, this is my case. Remember that, okay? We've got a £22 Riesling from Argentina down to 15 quid. We've got a 12 quid Pecorino down to 9 quid. We've got a 12 quid Viognier from France down to 9 quid. We have a £10 Rosé down to £6. We have £26 off a case of 6 wines. I think that's fair, especially if it's going to give you that much fun and choice. If you want to do this and pick out 6 wines that you like, I'll come round and drink with you. See you next time.